Good morning, nearly forgot my microphone again. So today I'm going to be working on a different character. So last week's stream I did this guy. So we got him finished and ready to go. So today we're going to be doing a different one. I'm just going to update the artwork in the corner with the new character for this week. This is the kind of the opposite version of him. He is a chap called Luxifer, and he is the king of the empire, the ruler of the empire. So a king who has kind of designs for global domination. You have to excuse me, I seem to be losing my voice at the moment, so this is a bit hard going. Lucifer is he's a young king, kills his father in a bit of a rage because he's been he's been possessed by the crystal, if you like, that the game kind of centres around. So possessed or tainted by it in some way. So yeah, he goes off and mad rage, kills his dad, becomes king, and goes off on a crystal gathering exercise, expanding his empire out, searching for these massive crystals. So he's the main antagonist of the story. This guy is like his opposite. This is Corrado. He's the good guy, basically, or one of the good guys. So I've brought a base mesh in to start with. So this is one I've done which I use for most of my kind of human characters. I don't always start with it exactly as that, and it is just a starting point, so it will change fairly significantly. But it gives you a starting point and lets you start making the various different armour components and whatnot. Okay, so I'm just going to open the image myself because I've got it in the corner of the window, but it's not big enough for me to use as reference. Okay, so right, I've got him on screen now. So the first things to work on with him, we're going to keep him in T-pose because the intention here is that this guy's going to be animated as well. So it's something I don't typically do, so this is going to be an extra process that I've got to try and get my head around myself. So we start with his breastplate. So I'm just going to isolate the torso. Let's auto group it first just to make sure. Oh no, it's already done. It won't isolate because I've got it in sections. Okay, so alright, so we've got the torso is the active tool. Let's just pop it into solo mode. If you've just tuned in, good morning everybody. It's just after 10 AM on an autumnal Wednesday morning. It's definitely getting colder here. I've got my bucket of red bush tea, so we're going to get started. Okay, so the breastplate here, we're going to do an extraction, mesh extraction here. So I'm just going to mask off the shoulders and the neck, and then the bottom of the torso. So we'll have got symmetry enabled. So I'm just going to invert my. Oh, hang on. I'm just going to invert my mask, sharpen up the edges, and I'm going to go down to mesh extract, and it's way too big, so let's just thin that out. If I remember right, it was about 684, I think was the best. Yeah, 684 is perfect. Okay, so we've now got a breastplate form. I'm going to delete all the internal geometry because I don't want it. Cancel that. Delete hidden and close holes, so that just seals it up so this is solid. Again, if you don't know why I'm doing this, the reason for making it solid and not hollow is because this is going to be a 3D printed model. I don't want any gaps between his actual torso and the armour, because that will create little resin pockets that it will need supporting and need draining. And if they don't drain, they may cause the model to split open and break later. So keeping your armours and things like that solid is a surefire way of preventing it. Okay, I'm going to turn polish on. I'm going to keep the Dynamesh resolution low. I'm just going to re-Dynamesh it with the polish. Now this guy's got like a seam down the middle of his breastplate, so like a crease, if you like. So it's going to come to a ridge in the centre. So I'm just going to use orb cracks with the Alt key pressed. I'm just going to draw a crease down the front. Now you can see obviously it's followed the contours of the body and stuff, but we'll square that off in a second with the polish tool. So I'm going to use H polish now. Again, I've got the Alt key pressed because I want to raise this ridge up a little bit, so I'm going to go sideways and just check it. So as I go, you'll see that the line's normalising out, it's becoming more even and smooth. So I'm just going to alternate now between add and subtract mode. Just going to re-polish the re-Dynamesh, sorry. Go between add and subtract mode just to smooth off all this body form detail that's on there at the moment, all the abs and all the muscles, because obviously you can see it hasn't got any of them on the armour in the model, in the illustration. I just want this to be a nice smooth breastplate, so using H polish, slightly circular motions, and I'm just buffing out the details without trying to create any kind of like planes. So when I'm talking about planes, I'm talking about transitions from one direction to another with the hard angle. So for example, if I do that now, you can see I've created a flat plane which has got a transition line around the outside. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So that's why you do circular motions, little circular buffing movements, not pressing too hard, and that will get the smoothing and the polishing to kind of all over. Oops. That was annoying. Okay, next week I'll have an extra stream or two going on, because I'll be working on some Cursed Empire models. So if anybody went to Spiel over the last weekend, you may have seen Chris and the Cursed Empire guys working hard and doing demos and showcasing the stuff. But Chris has asked me to sculpt the next faction of Darkens for him, which done one I think so far, the Spider Darken, and she's like she's a bit like a kind of ninja assassin kind of character. Quite a cool model actually, but she's one model out of a whole faction, so he's going to be boosting them up. So we did the Imperial Legion for him. So he's got they're almost Greek looking. They've got this kind of Spartan look about them. So we've got the Imperial Legion versus the Darkens, and that'll be the main kind of like core two factions to start with at least. So yeah, we'll be working on them next week. So Chris has given me the thumbs up to stream them. So if if you're a Cursed Empire fan, or if you like a bit of dark fantasy, then be sure to dial into that one. I'm thinking it'll be possibly Monday and Tuesday, but I'll update my my schedule with it once I confirm. Okay, so we've got a polished breastplate now. Didn't take too long. I'm going to leave that ridge down the back because he's going to have a big cloak, you're not going to see it. Okay, now I'm going to segment this because we've got a bit of shape going on. So you can see he's got kind of a more pronounced chest, and then an inward kind of what's the word, is it, concave? A concave stomach. So we're going to bring his stomach in. It's all part of the anime aesthetic. Going to bring this up more, so the hole around his arm is smaller. And I just need to drop max. Just drop Max a message and let him know I'm streaming. He's still recovering from his weekend at Essen. So Max is the chap I'm working on Crystal Collapse with. So yeah, so it's going to move that. We're going to pull the waist in. That bit I'm happy with. That shape is fine. Just change the profile there. Just buff that bit out. Re-dynamesh with polish on, because polish at this stage helps to kind of keep all your forms tight. So it's no good, you can't polish it so much when you're applying detail, but that's fine. I'm not at the moment. And right, so okay. So the next thing to do, how is best to do this? Okay, I'm going to duplicate the breastplate, and I'm going to mask off the areas I want to use. I'm going to increase my Dynamesh resolution first off to about 1000. Let's just smooth off the surface a touch. Okay, I'm going to use the masking tool here to mask the areas that I need masking, that I need to ridge up, sorry. So the detail on his breastplate is going to be a separate layer. Right, so we've got a line coming down here, and that curves up, and then back down, and that's coming to a point here. Okay, so I'll get these lines in roughly first, then we're going to go back in and just do clean up on them to reduce my laser mask, because that's a bit intense, a bit severe. So so it looks like he's got a raised ridge around the armhole, so we're just going to go and just ridge that out. Now I'm not going to do a mesh extract on this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to deflate the bit that is currently unmasked and inflate the bit that is masked. So I'll just invert them and just do them one at a time. And what that will do is kind of allow me to let's just get this in first. It'll allow me to hide the mesh of this one below the other one, so you won't see it. Okay, so this one then is coming up here. We've got a central line here and diagonal one here, and then a second diagonal one coming in this way. Okay. And then what are we dealing with? So we've got a diamond shape here. And then there's a couple of little flourish bits here. And same again, a little circular bit, little wispy curl. And then we've got another one of those kind of here, which is like that. And a little crescent here, which comes out of there. So it's going to sharpen the edges of the crescent. That needs to be a little bit more. Now Alex, the artist, he's done a fantastic job on this one. But I'd be very interested to know if there's actually a story to the detail there, because we've got like little crescent moon shapes and then this like crystal diamond shape in the middle. I do wonder if it's got any kind of theme in the story, if it's significant. So I'll get Max on a stream at some point once he's recovered, and then we'll have a chat about it. Okay, we've got a little fleur-de-lis at the bottom, so I'm just going to point that out. Arrows coming down. Right, it's going to control and left click a few times, or control alt and click, sorry, because that sharpens up the mask. Okay, then waist here we have like a double line running out, so let's just get a thicker line in. Okay, and then from there we got a little centre ridge again, and then that's going into a bottom trim. So I'm just going to trim out the bottom of the armour. Right, now the back of the armour, I'm just going to actually trim this off flat, so I'm not going to follow the curve, because I'm going to bring it up higher at the back. Okay. So that is pretty much where I want it to be. So I'm just going to invert the mask on this. I'm going to inflate that detail. And I'm just going to put the mask back, and I'm just going to inflate the opposite way, just to take the bottom down. and I'm going to polish and dynamesh again. Okay, so if I there we go. So that is what it currently looks like, which actually is not what I was after at all. So let's try something different. Let's go for the inflate, but then on this here I'm going to use the shrink tool, the scaling. There we go. So when you inflate in reverse, it turns the mesh inside out and does some horrible things. You get some really weird mesh anomalies. So in the interest of avoiding them, I just had to revise my tactics a little bit. Okay, so this is bright red armour, so we're just going to fill that. And this bit's going to be like gold, so let's just fill it yellow. Okay. Right, I was going to use my Oil Cracks brush with a higher intensity. I just need to go in and sharpen all of these little corners that have softened out. So I don't want this to look too chunky, and also I'm going to try and like raise this up to a point as well, so it's going to have some bevel on it. Like that, and that'll be polished in, but not like that. So again, I'm just sharpening the edges and sharpening the corners at the moment. So anywhere where there should be a sharp corner, it's going to be a sharp corner. Oops. So I'm going to be coming back in with the polish brush on a small setting. I'm just going to be buffing up the edges of the armour. But let's get this bit done first, because that will help just to kind of crisp everything up and give it the kind of the right visual. Because at the moment it's all looking a little bit wobbly and not great. But it is a temporary thing, I promise you. There we go, H-polish just sharpening up the edges. Again, symmetry's turned on at the moment, so it is going to kind of do everything on both sides at once. So I'm only working on half the model. Morning, Wilkie. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in again today. I know you want to see this guy animated, don't you? I'm spending a bit of time on this, but the reality of it is actually a lot of this isn't even going to be seen. You can see the guy's got massive shoulder pads, so all this bit around the back here, that'll be covered by either shoulder pads or cape. So, what are you working on, Wilkie? I appreciate the company too, by the way. It makes me feel like I'm talking to myself. So just buffing and polishing out the rough edges. So whenever you do anything to do with like masking, unless you got it on a super high resolution, you always get this kind of like jaggediness to the edges. You can bump the resolution right up, then mask, and do all your transformations from there. So, you do web design then, Wilkie? So okay, so in a very crude state I've managed to do this now. Now although the details there, it's far from elegant, and this guy's a king, so to make him look like one, so I'm going to turn the intensity down on my all cracks brush, draw size up a touch, get lazy mouse on and bump the value up to about 6, 7. Very nice, Wilkie, very nice. I may have to tap you up for some of that at some point. Got my new website relaunch soon, so my wife's just getting all the renders ready for it so we can start loading products on. Oh, I say start loading products on. She's been loading all the products on, it's taken ages. There's 3 years worth of monthly releases to get uploaded and re-rendered and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, she's basically just getting all of that done, cracking on with that. And then when the new website's ready, I need to do like a proper relaunch, because we've got an existing website, so it's not really fit for purpose, because there's a lot of issues with it, like legacy things from. We had a WordPress site back in, or a WooCommerce store as part of the website, so a WordPress site, and it was built back in 2015 or something like that. So when I did my first Kickstarter, the website was the delivery mechanism for making sure that everybody could order the resin models. So I didn't want to spend the money on like a backer kit. I thought I might as well spend the money on a website that will do the job. But stupidly, I gave everybody options with the product. So it was, you know, buy any 5 models of your choice, any 10 models of your choice, any 20 models of your choice, etc., etc. And then I had to come up with a facility that would allow people to kind of make the choices online. So yeah, it was a nuisance, but we ended up doing a. It's like my mate Ollie helped me set the website up and everything. He runs it for me, and he was can't remember what it was, a YIF plugin or something like that, I think. And it was like a variable product where you could pre-program all of your choices as products. So we had to load every single one of the products into there, and then it would look up the database of all the products and return them as that were available as choices, and return them as values. And some of the products were only allowed to be chosen once because they were like Kickstarter exclusive things. So there was a load of conditions in there, and ultimately there's still a legacy bogged down in my website from that, because every time somebody tried to make a choice, you had to reference the entire table of all the products on the site. It just killed it. So yeah, hence, like I say, we're looking at like a new site. It's a Shopify one, a bit cleaner, a bit simpler. So we've got the current stores at the moment. We've got My Manufacturer. We've got Mini Hoarder and Cults selling STL files. And then we've got the Shop 3D, which is onlygames.co. We've got a store on there for resin miniatures. So the plan is to we're going to keep the Only Games store, but in terms of STL files, we're going to really focus on rolling them out ourselves. Because as I said before, we've had a few issues with the online marketplace stores. They're not in my best books, so I'm going to do it myself. We'll still use them as a kind of a go-to for the passive foot traffic, but I won't be promoting them. I'm done with that. Do I need other functionality? No, mate. I'm all right on the on that at the moment, to be honest, because it was hugely complicated for what it needed to be. It could have been 1,000 times simpler. It was just, at the time, I wanted something that was all singing, all dancing, and I didn't kind of consider the ramifications of it. So it was it's very much a mistake that I've learned from. Going forward now, we've got we're using Shopify, so we've got the STLs available on Shopify, or there will be, and once they've the only thing I'm trying to work out is the library aspect of it, to try and make sure that the models end up in your library rather than just on an email. So as soon as I can get that done, we're good to go. But I've got to go through all the rest of the little quirky bits, like the making sure all the legal bits are done, and like the returns policies and all those kind of things, all those little fiddly bits. I just got to make sure everything there is present, and then we're looking at like SEO optimization and stuff like that. So it's all just time, isn't it? With those kind of things, like filling in all the metadata and writing articles. So we've got a few people who are going to come and write some articles for us as well. So we'll have a few more. It's not just stuff written by me that's going to be on there. It'll be other people too. So I'm trying to get some more content that's like game related to try and help push the gaming side of the hobby, because I can deal with like painting and sculpting, modelling and that kind of stuff. So I'm happy doing those things, but obviously I want to get somebody in there to help with the gaming. So my mate Moley is going to give us a hand doing a few bits and bobs. So he's a professional DM. So he's going to come in and help us with a couple of some articles about character design, about running games, game design, that kind of stuff. Max, I've had a word with. I'd like him to help us with a bit of content that surrounds board games, because he's just done, I've said before on previous streams, he's just run the Nanolith Kickstarter with Woodpecker Games, and that's done really well for them. They were pushing that at Essen, and it's gone down a treat from what I understand. Very, very busy time for the guys, which is good. No, I appreciate that, Wilkie. You think Shopify integration is a better way to go, is it? So you think I should keep the WooCommerce site and use the Shopify store? Morning, Rich. How we doing, dude? Because I did consider that, and I wasn't sure how to do it, because my site's quite good on SEO, ltminis.com. I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm losing my voice a little bit. I don't know if you can hear it. Okay, so what? Keep the WordPress site and just can the WooCommerce bit. Just replace the Shopify with as the web store kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know if it's the weather at the moment, but my voice is a little bit strained, so I'm to. So you can probably hear it. It's not sore or anything like that. I just can't speak properly. Like it's stopping me though. I'll regret it later, I'm sure. Switch it out to integrate with the. Yeah, you know that's exactly what it is. If you go to, I keep getting email notifications about my WooCommerce store saying something's not working right on there. And I've had a lot of downtime with it, just failing and breaking and stuff. So it takes absolutely forever to load my site up. Rich, isn't it just, mate? I've got the radiator on in my office because it's absolutely freezing. I have had to resort to putting the heating on a bit as well, so on the nights and in the daytime as well. Poor Hayley sat in the house doing the work. She doesn't want to put the heating on because she's worried about the energy bills at the moment, as we all are. I'll treat her a little bit. Start with a plugin called Disable WooCommerce Cart Fragments. Okay, I'll have a look at that one then. I'll dig that one out in a bit. Let me write that down actually, because I'll have a hunt for that. Pens. Never a pen around when you need one, is there? Okay. Was it disable WooCommerce cart fragments? Cheers, mate. So do I need to put anything into the Shopify site for that then, or do I need to use a plugin to integrate Shopify, or is that just a straight up kind of just use a different web address for it? Yeah, I use Divi on mine. I quite like Divi actually, but the new block editor is quite good as well. I'm quite a fan of that. Oh, right, yeah. Because there are some things I wanted to do on my website that were geared up around plugins that I'd got on WooCommerce, and Shopify just doesn't have those kind of functions available for it. There's no plugins that will deal with it. You know, like for doing like courses and things. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a couple of like sculpting courses. I've written a prospectus for it, but I wanted to do it as a, you know, rather than just me sitting here and just sculpting whatever I'm sculpting. I wanted to actually tackle systematically the various different things you needed to do, and then create that and sell it as an actual course. And then I was going to put some some like free tutorials and stuff up on the site as well, using the same kind of like, you know, e-learning systems and whatever. You can't do none of that in Shopify. You're talking sense, Wilkie. I'll tell you that much. So Rich, what are you up to today, mate? Don't doubt you at all, man. Fair enough, mate. What's it you do for a living then? You home based or in an office with your earphones in, or? Fair enough, matey. Well, the Americans, you got the Americans done. Nice. I've done them all as well, actually. I've got them all sat on a little painting table just at the back here. I don't know if you can see them. Looks a right mess at the moment. It's just covered in stuff. I've got all the Americans. I've got all the little spine devils. Last couple of releases of the Mercenary Company. Got them all done. Plus the figure I did on the previous streams with the Alan with a little imp. So, nice. High flyer in New York, eh? Never been stateside yet. Don't expect I will do for a while yet, but thank you for saying so, mate. I'm well practiced after so many years, so. Although I did actually go back and adjust some of the supports on the Spine Devils. I think I did them before I uploaded them. I think the uploaded ones are the proper ones. My first phase of them was hard going. I'd made the supports like too large because I'd forgotten how small the models were going to be. When I tried to actually separate them off the supports, it was like pulling teeth. I was breaking arms and everything. It was catastrophic support removal, I'd describe it as. So I had to go back through and just lighten them all up. So I've reprinted since and they've all come through fine, but they're so, I don't know if you can see that, they're so small and fiddly. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't even see if you can see it. I can't see myself on the screen here, but like that little dude. Oh, there we go. That little dude there. He's like, well, compared to a human character who's that big. Oh, there we go. And he's very, very thin and spindly. And obviously the one I'm waving around at the screen happens to be a misprint. It's good advertising, isn't it? The tines on his fork failed on that one. I must have put too small a support on there, but I've had a weird anomaly happen recently as well, which I've not managed to find out an answer for yet. But I've got these the Commander Porter model, so I've printed this one several times now, and this particular one has got a hole in top of the head like that, as you can see. Now I've printed this model probably about 7 or 8 times, I think, and 2 of them, and they're not the last 2, the 2 random ones, it's all off the same build print plate, and all of them have come out fine apart from 2 where they've got the hole in the head, but the hole's not in the same place. And I know it's not dead pixels because I've checked the screen, and it's a cavity in there. Do you know what I mean? It's a proper cavity, but the model's not hollow, and I've printed it successfully, like what, 6 out of 8 times or something like that. So if I get this spike, I don't know if you can see that, but it goes in like a fair way. So it's a good, I'd say it's a good 3 or 4 millimeters deep, that hole is. No, nothing, mate. The FEP's clean. I've had no fails. There's no reason I should have a hole in the head, in the top of the model's head. I'll say it's not hollow. It's not a dead pixel or anything like that. And every other model on the plate's been fine, but it's this one model it's happened with, like twice. I have had it with other miniatures recently as well. It's not the only one I've ever had. And I'd love to know what's causing it. It's really kind of like really boggling me a little bit now that I don't know the answer to it. It annoys me. I find it irksome. Do you know what? I actually haven't. It has occurred to me that it's possibly a file corruption with the slicer. So that has occurred. I'd not considered that it's a duff stick. I mean, I've been using it for like 3 years, so there's every chance it's on its way out. But it just seems peculiar that it's just that one model on the plate. You know what I mean? I printed all of the mercenary company together with her, so that was 6 crossbow guys, 5 heavy guys plus her. So that's 12 models on the build plate. She was the only one that actually had the issue, and the rest of them are printed without the problems. So it's got to be something weird, I think. Do you know what I mean? But even like I've put the feelers out online and asked people in like different groups if they've got any ideas, and I've had to kind of get in there quick and be like, right, please don't suggest it's dead pixels or anything like that, because I know it's not. And I'm not even getting replies. I think people are reading it and they're kind of going, I don't know. But normally when you post online, you know, when people like to reply to you and say, yeah, I haven't got a clue. I don't need to know. I don't need you to reply to me to tell me you don't know. You just don't say anything, do you know what I mean? But Okay, and again, I'm not going to worry too much about the back of the armour here because, well, we aren't going to see it. This needs to be cut into two, so I'm just going to run a seam line through the middle. Yeah, 3D printing is one of those wonderful hobbies that even after, I mean, I started 3D printing in resin back in 2016. I'll say before it was a hobby for anyone really, but I started doing it commercially back then. I had to learn everything from scratch without any real resources to teach me what to do. It was a bit hard going, but even now I still find things that surprise you. Or surprise me at least. You know, you think you've seen it all, and then you get some new weird anomaly that kicks in and scuppers you. But I do love it, despite the flaws and the headaches. So have you guys seen the new Artist Opus display cases? Anybody thinking about getting any of them? I don't actually need any at the moment. I've got I've got plenty of display room in my oh, they're just ace, mate. They're just really nice like wall mounted display units, different sizes for, like, you know, single busts or trophies and trophy pieces, larger ones with like multiple displays. Give it a Google and have a little check. They just look really nice. I heard about them from Ross at Fohammer. He did a little article on them the other week. He got like a nice little set of them up on his wall, but they're all LED lit, so you can run all the cabling and stuff into them, and they just look really smart. You know what I mean? Really kind of like modern, like stylish display cases. They're all wall mounted, but I think Ross had his on a plaster wall, so he'd run all the cabling up through the inside of the wall so that it wasn't visible. So the cables, the cabinets just lit up beautifully. But they've got like a little cable runs at the back of them, so you can hide the cabling behind the unit. Very well designed. Yeah, I wouldn't go buying houses at the moment, mate. That's a disaster waiting to happen, that one is. They're talking about a 42% drop in house prices. So if we end up with something like that going on, it's going to bugger everybody up, isn't it? So anybody who's got a mortgage is going to get stuffed, because your equity is going to be lower than your loan. And anybody trying to buy a house is going to be unable to do it, because they're not going to be able to get the mortgages, because the rates are going to be too high. Yeah, so we were really lucky with our mortgage, because when I redid our mortgage, the house value had gone up significantly. So we paid like $290 for our house years and years and years ago, but we'd made a bit of money on our previous one. So we ended up with, I think, about a 50 grand deposit off the sale of the previous house to come in and put down on it. And then over the years, the house price has gone up, and it's currently worth about 375. So we remortgaged at 375, where we paid like the mortgage bill was like 240 grand or something like that. And it was it's ended up being quite, it's brought the monthly payments down quite a lot, because we got a high loan to value ratio, or low loan to value ratio. And I think I can't help thinking now, look, there's a lot of people who are going to find themselves on the opposite side of that, where the house prices drop, and your mortgage value is like either equal to or greater than the equity you've got in a property. If you're in negative equity, you just don't want to even be there. Do you know what I mean? That's just not even funny. But I can imagine it happening a lot if they do screw the market for us all. Because I do agree. There's a lot of young people who are out there on the market trying to get their first house, and you just can't do it. But I don't think the answer is to devalue everybody's properties. Do you know what I mean? They need to make mortgages more affordable and more accessible. Because how many times do you hear people who are they're paying the rent on a house, paying a landlord rent, and the bank's telling them they can't afford a mortgage. The rent payment's higher, isn't it, in most cases? It's just the world going crazy, isn't it? Oh, so you actually sold up and you're back renting, are you? Got a crash in the property market to suit you about now, wouldn't it? Get yourself a steal. Ah, so you're not paying someone a ridiculous amount of rent in the meantime then? Now my sister-in-law's just looking for rentals at the moment. She's just signed a lease on one. I think she moves towards the end of October, so she's not that far off getting in there. But I know it was hard going, because like she'd see somewhere she liked the look of, and like they pull it off the market before she even has a chance to kind of get in there and go and do a viewing and whatever. And I think she's ending up paying like, I mean, when me and the wife started renting together, when we first started living together back in 2009, we were paying like $650 a month or $625 a month on I think it was like a 2-bedroom flat. Then we moved into like a 3-bedroom house from there, and that was like $725 a month or something like that. And now we've got like my sister-in-law's renting a 1-bedroom flat, and it's something like $650 or something like that for a 1-bedroom now. My mortgage is at its height, it was about £1,000 a month. It's down to about $825 or something now. But it's not a huge stretch from the rental prices. In fact, it's cheaper than renting by a mile. For our family, like me, the wife and the 2 kids, if we had to try and rent now, I think we'd be paying well more than what we're paying out on a mortgage. So okay, so a little bit more to do down here. Yeah, it's not fun, the whole viewing thing at the moment. The wife's been watching this program, and it's one of these, like, proper rubbish daytime telly programs where you got people they're given like they get two people who've never known each other before, and they throw them in the thick of it, so you have to go and renovate a house together, and they get given this like rundown property or whatever, and they have like 6 months to, you know, invest in it, do the property up and all this kind of good stuff, and at the end of it they put it back on sale, and whatever they make, they you know, they take the profit and they share it between them. And there was one the other day, and she called me and she's like, Dan, come and look at this, this is funny, look at this, I've never seen such a catastrophe in my life. And it was they bought this house, I think it was in Telford, for 164,000. They spent 6 months renovating this place. And they'd done it all up, and the one thing they'd done was it was basically a two bedroom house with an upstairs bathroom and a downstairs bathroom, and the upstairs bathroom wasn't finished, it was half done, and the guys in their wisdom, they decided to take the upstairs bathroom out to make it a 3-bedroom house. So they put it on at like 230 or something like that, and they had no offers. Nobody even wanted it, so they took it off the market at 230, put it back on at like 200, and still didn't get any offers. So then they had to put it back to auction, and it ended up selling for 160,000. But this house, by the time they'd added fees, they spent like 50 grand on it, including all the fees and everything else. So it was like it owed them 210. So, you know, they literally lost. They literally devalued the house below what they bought a derelict property for. So, and you know, you just kind of think that's just like, you know, I shouldn't be surprised to see that kind of thing anymore. But can you imagine how soul destroying that would be? 6 months of your life and 50 grand of cash, and you end up reducing the value of the property you've been working on. And it was all because of the stupid decision to remove the upstairs bathroom, ultimately. You know what I mean? Nobody wanted it. Okay, so I'm going to call this done in a second and move on and do a little bit of something else on him, because it's annoying me now. There you go. So what I'll do with this, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to do a test print on it, and then if I need to sharpen it up and crisp up the lines, I've got the option to do it. So I'm just using the move tool just to nudge the red a little bit closer to the surface. Okay, so I'm going to put the body back. I'm going to use my clay build-up tool. I'm just going to destroy some of this body, because again we're dealing with like an anime physique here, so this is not it's not true to life. Oops. Just need to cut this bit of red out at the back. Well, let's see if we can sort this face out next. Because this face at the moment, as you can see, is far too craggy for a young anime king. Okay, so we're going to I'm going to basically polish out all of his facial features pretty much. You see, he's got a very pointy chin. He's got a little goatee beard, which we'll add on. Let's bring that down to a little point. He's got quite a wide mouth. Got this big menacing smile. Kind of reminds me of the Joker a little bit. So his nose we're going to make nice and sharp on the ridge. Oops. Right, so zoom right in on his face on my artwork. So I'm just admiring Alex's brushwork here. He's done a beautiful job on it. Okay, so his nose is not going to be very pronounced. It's quite difficult, this bit, because like anime characters, you typically don't find much in the way of you know, facial features on them. But I don't feel like I could just leave his face like a blank slate for you to just, like, you know, have to try and fill in yourself. I actually did go back after the last stream as well, and I revisited Corrado because he needed it. Now, speaking to Max the other day about it, he was suggesting I should just basically sculpt them like elves. So I might give that a go. So, you know, pronounced cheekbones. So this guy does have this, like, you know, what do I call it, bags under his eyes. But he's got to look young, so I don't want to overdo it and make him look old and haggard. That makes sense. So I'm going to keep them polished. I'm not going to do all the little lines and wrinkles and stuff in there. We've got 8 people here now. If you guys want to sit and lurk, that is absolutely fine, but feel free to pipe up and say hello and chip in with a conversation. Start a conversation. It's all good. If you ever have any questions on this, on what I'm doing, by the way, just feel free to pipe up, because I try and explain what I'm doing and what I'm thinking, but I may take things for granted sometimes. So, Elston, how you doing, mate? Thank you for joining today. You busy working, or are you doing your videos, bit of editing or whatnot? Right, little ears. I've got a 3/4 view of his face, so I need to bring his cheeks out. No Skype time for you today then, Alston. Tis a shame, mate, tis a shame. And Wilkie, yeah, it's always interesting to see how other people do things, because I mean, I don't even do things the same every single time, do you know what I mean? It's my process changes depending on what day it is and what's in my head at the time. So I know so many ways of resolving an issue, and it's like this kind of detailing on the armour. I mean, I could have done that using like tube brushes, I could have done it using extractions, I could have done it using just like sculpting it straight on, and I wasn't quite sure what to do, so I just went with my gut and just did whatever seems appropriate right now. But if I was to do the same again next week, it could be done completely differently. Right, so I've rounded out his face. His mouth is mental. So I need to do something about that. Like, he looks crazy. I get the impression he is supposed to be kind of like a Mad King kind of character. You know what I mean? He's supposed to be a kind of a bit of a Fruit Loop, an absolute crazy liability. But we've had a few chats about him actually. In game, he performs very well, but I'm not 100% sure that his role in the game matches the character and the story for him. But I think I've got an idea. I'll pitch it to Max later. I'm also going to sort his eyes out now. I'll come back to his mouth later because it's definitely going to need something. So eyes, we've got the top of his eye is quite straight. No worries, Rich. You take it easy, mate. Have fun at your meeting. Okay, and then the front of his eyelid. We're going to go up and bring it down. I'm going to use the polish tool. I'm just going to polish the edge of the eyelids, just to give it a nice bit of sharp definition. Right, now these eyes have already got eyelids on. I'm going to take them off, delete the hidden. I need to take these eyes and enlarge them so that they actually fit the sockets. Now I need to deal with this guy's nose because See if it's wrong there. That is not terrible, actually. Again, I think this is one of these things when you start with a human head and you do anime and you realise how far anime designs are actually from a human head design. There's a whole load of stylisation in there. Oh, my mate Martin's just pinged me. Let's just ping him the link, see if he wants to join in the chat. Okay, so I actually quite like that head. Let's do his eyebrows. Let's do an extract for his eyebrows. That's a bit severe, that is, isn't it? As amusing as that was, I need to sort them out. So I'm going to Dynamesh them, polish them. And just shape them there. So it's like the brow bar. This is the Lion Tower's brow bar now. Not threading here though, we're polishing. And nudging. A bit of nudging and a bit of polishing. Okay, I'm going to shove a cylinder in his mouth. That sounded aggressive. It's not intended to be. I'm just going to use it for his teeth. So. Divide that a couple of times, just get a bit more topology in there, delete the lower, polish it, bump up the Dynamesh resolution, and I'm just going to pop a little line through the middle to be the gap in his teeth. Bump up my Z intensity, turn the slider right down, and we get across to about here. Now he looks like an anime villain with gold teeth, doesn't he? So let's just take the teeth back. Let's do his eyebrows. Give them a black colour for his eyebrows, dark brown. The skin, I'll just chuck a polyskin material on. Oops. Let's change the colour on that. We'll go back to my basic material. Oh, hang on. I need MRGB on the top here. So when you apply materials and when you're filling on ZBrush, you've got these apply here. So these apply to the brush, but they also apply to your filling tools. So you've got A, which is the alpha. If you turn that off, obviously this bit doesn't even apply to the brush. You've got MRGB, which is materials plus the RGB. So this is the material here plus the colour you've selected here. M is material only. So if I'm happy with the colour, but I want to make it metallic or whatever else, but I want to keep the colour, I can change the material without affecting the colour. Or vice versa, if I want to keep the material but I want to change the colour, I can use just RGB. So you've got M, MRGB, and then we're on to like add and subtract, which is to do with the actual brushes itself. So just when I turn this polyskin off and put basic material back on, this whole thing changed again, and that was because all I'd actually applied was the RGB. So I'm going to go back to my fill object with that. I need to... Oh, the teeth are separate, that's fine. I'll take the eyes out though, because they need to be a different material. So they're going to be just... I'll use skin shade white and then fill them. There we go. Okay, and his eyebrows, we're going to just darken them down a touch more. Okay. Right, now he needs his little beard. So I'm just going to mask his chin off. I'm going to do this as a separate piece because I'm not 100% convinced it's going to need to be on there. So I'm going to put it on just in case. See how he looks, and then I'll give Max the final say on that. So Max will be able to veto the beard if he doesn't like it. So. I do think the beard is going to make him look more like a baddie though, do you know what I mean? So it's going to have to be a very small extraction, this is, because okay, so we're onto his beard at the moment. Let's change to basic material. I'm going to turn colour off for a second because I can't. Oh, okay. I can't really work with this with the colour applied. So I'm just going to add a few strokes into the beard. Normally I'd do this all positive, so it'd be like building it up, but because this is only supposed to be like a thin beard, you know what I mean, like a almost like unshaven rather than having a beard. So I'm actually going to carve into it a touch. I will also do some external strokes, some build-up strokes, but I wanted to make sure I've got that carving. Baron von Maron, thank you for following. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to use my nudge tool again. I'm just going to nudge the edges of this in just so it's not so harsh on the edge, if you like. I want to just soften this beard in. I don't feel like it should be a major feature of him, but See, the decisions with miniatures are everywhere. Hey Martin, how you doing, mate? Good name. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing good, mate. Can have a proper catch up later, mate, as well. Okay. Oh, Baron von Marlon. I misread. Oh no, you did mistype it. It's alright. It's the Brown Baron, isn't it? It's got a ring to it. So yeah, so this character I'm doing, mate, is he's basically he is the kind of the main evil protagonist. Ah, got yeah. Now it makes sense. I see. Right, so I'm just going to turn the colour back on with that. Bring it down here and fill object. No, definitely got to be darker than that. Okay, let's do this guy's crown first and we'll lose hair. Yeah, it's cracking, isn't it? We've had this this artist called Alex doing all the artwork for the game, and he's done some beautiful pieces. So I did the one last week, which was Corrado, which is this. Oh god, this guy. So I need to sort his face out. His face isn't anime enough at all. I think I've got it down with the current one. He's definitely got the look I'm after. Like the look of a crazed maniac. But he looks a little bit too. It looks too much like a model I'd normally sculpt. Armour and everything's fine with him, but his face just isn't right. So yeah, just gonna do this guy and then come back and revisit. So I don't normally put the colour on either, but I'm going to be doing the colour at the end, so I just thought I've got to do it. Yeah, exactly. He's got a real. I've sculpted his face like. Oh, Regal, the first guy. You mean him? Yeah, he comes across as like a, you know, he's the kind of paladin you'd normally find in my usual kind of like miniature collection. I say this guy's just supposed to be a psychotic king. So I'm going to do his hair. So I'm going to just mask off a kind of scalp design on him. He's got a big mop head anyway, so it's all going to kind of change from this. So this will just be a starting point. Ah, fantastic. I was just about to ask her how Little One's doing actually. I owe her a barbarian soon as well. I was going to do that as one of my live streams actually. I think it'd be nice for us to be able to see it being made. Oh god. I'll make sure I do that one kind of early evening or kind of after school's finished and stuff like that, or over weekends, so she's got a chance to kind of come on live. Kind of see it happen then. You need a bit of a top up, do you, mate? I'll send you a few more out. Da-da-dum. Right, so I'm just going to bring this down, do a little bit of positioning. This is just to fill it and stop it being quite so hollow. That failed. Right, I was going to do the same on this back bit because I need to. Oh mate, it's difficult sometimes because the thing is when you get somebody doing like a 2D artwork, they're not necessarily thinking in full 3D. You know, they'll be putting light and shadow and stuff on there, but they don't necessarily consider the bits that you don't physically see. So I've got a certain amount of detail here, I've got a certain amount of stuff to go on, and then I've got to try and wing the rest of it. But when you're dealing with something that's quite stylised like this one is, like the armour and everything is easy, you know, you can just copy what's on there, it's fine, but actually then moving into doing things like the face and stuff like that, because it is a real stylised piece of art, it's quite difficult then to get that to come across in a miniature and have the same read. So I think I've got the facial proportions and everything else right in this guy, but then at the same time, you know, I might not have. So I think I'm going to actually just bring the inner of his eye that way a little bit. I'm just going to bring his outer eye up a bit sharper. Yeah, pretty much, mate. I mean, unless the customers, unless the client literally gives you, you know, a turnaround drawing, which is rare. It's really rare to have it. I think I've had it maybe 2 or 3 times ever. Unless they've got an actual physical, you know, this is the front of the character, this is the back of the character, this is the side, and these are a few detail pieces I want you to include. Unless they've got that, you've got no choice but to interpret and wing it. And it's down to your own discretion then, isn't it? And that's if the customer trusts you, it's fine, but you're having to then make a call on their product, so it can be a bit of a ropey position to be in. So I'm just putting the pupils in because it should help me to kind of see this guy a little bit better. So what I'm doing now, I'm cheating a bit because I'm going around the eyeballs. You won't see anything happening here, but what I'm doing is creating topology there. So you can see how dense the mesh goes from being this to being like this here. So what I'm doing is using a very, very small brush with dynamic tessellation on. I'm just scrubbing over the area with a smoothing tool. And what that's doing is creating a ton of geometry for me to use right here. There we go. So when I come in now to do the next bit, where I'm just going to paint a darker red ring around the outside. Yeah, it's just to position it, make sure I know what's going where. So this bit now I can paint the dark red ring, and I get a nice smooth line. I've just turned lazy mouse up for this one as well, because lazy mouse helps you to, you see that little red line that's appeared on the screen just behind my mouse or behind my cursor, so that basically now is like averaging out my entire stroke to give me a nice smooth ring. I don't want it on when I'm kind of colouring and stuff, when I'm blocking it in, but for like edges and lines and things, it's beneficial. One of the other things you can do as well, you can grab the colour from here, you can click on it here and drag over onto the screen, and it'll do colour picking. So if you want a colour you've already used, you can just colour pick from it quite easily. There we go, just do that. So you working today, mate, or you at home, or? I spoke to you a while actually. I don't even know what's going on. I don't know. Oh, good. Everybody doing okay now, or have to talk about it on stream? We can have a chat later if it's not. I hope it is though, because last time I spoke to you, there was a fair few issues going on, weren't there? Oh, say hello for me. Send them a love. Oops, that was a bit heavy-handed. I thought she was the one who wasn't very well. Shouldn't you be feeding her cake? Oh god, that's a bit creepy, isn't it? Good man. Right, so let's just pop the pupil in there. That is disturbing. Right, let's sort this out now. Let's bring his whole face back. Right. So there we go. Oh, he's knackers. Done them too big. Oops. Oh, fucking. Oh. Not doing it. Should have been a lot smaller than that, unfortunately. I'm just matching the artwork, mate. I've got the you can't see it, but I've got on the second screen, I've got a very large kind of blow up of his face. It's like, you know, it's probably about 12 inches tall on my screen. So I'm just trying to match the artwork as closely as I can. So he is, like I say, he's a psychotic evil king, basically. So he's got to come across as a bit unhinged and deranged. I kind of imagine him on par. If you played the Final Fantasy games, I'm kind of thinking of him being a bit like, you know, Kefka, the guy from Final Fantasy 6 or 3. Was it 3 or 6? 6 in the US, wasn't it? No, 3 in the US and 6 in Japan, I think. So like, yeah, he's just not a very nice chap, basically. So yeah, evil grin, mate. Evil grin is what it is. What we're dealing with. I was going to leave it like that and clean it up in a bit. I just realised I've done it a bit too light. His eyes are quite pink. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the extra colour in now, just to tone it down a touch. I'll leave a little bit of that in there. So the previous couple of sculpts were about, the last one I did fully on stream. So the Corrado one I sculpted him in one session and then posed him in a second session, but he was already mostly sculpted, so I didn't have to start from scratch. The previous one I did completely from scratch was Eleanor, and that one was like 3 sessions, and she was completely done then. So 3 hours on the first one, 3 hours on the second one, and about an hour and a half on the third one. and then she was all wrapped up then. Okay, so back to this guy's hair now. So we're going to go blondie brown kind of colour, like that, I think. So easiest way of doing it was, oh god, yeah, it's always variable, isn't it? Whenever you're sculpting anything, it varies depending on how much work you've got to do and how much you can kind of fake, if you like. If it's not all on display, there's no point in sculpting it all. But I think one of the things I find with digital stuff, again, I've said this to you before, it's more efficient because you are, like, you can see I've got symmetry on. Oh, I haven't actually on this guy. So I've got, here's an example for you then. So on the right hand side, I've just done some smoothing and I've done some sculpting over here, say, that I want to kind of put on this side. And what I can do is I can just mirror it and then mirror and weld it, and I've just copied the detail from one side to the other. But then if I press X, I'm turning my symmetry on. I've only got to sculpt half the model. So everything I do on one side then, like here, that line is on both sides, even though I've only put it on the one side. So it just makes it quick and easy to kind of, you know, to turn them around. I was going to zoom out on my reference image on this guy now, because I need to, well, first thing I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to put a crown in there, because I need to do his hair around the crown, so it's going to be easy to put the crown in first. Yeah, I mean, if you don't, what I tend to do is I'll tend to try and sculpt as much of it as I can in symmetry first. So sculpt a lot with symmetry on, and then once I've finished all the symmetrical details, then I can start posing it with symmetry turned off. So once the symmetry's off, it's a lot easier to kind of get a proper finish to the model. And whilst the symmetry's on, obviously you've got to, you can only do symmetrical detail. You can't do the asymmetrical stuff. So, excuse me, I'm just losing my voice this week. So I've just turned the crown upside down, and I'm basically tapering it so it'll fit on the head properly. So just here, it's about the height I want it to be, and then I need to divide it a few times, delete the lower. I'm going to take a chunk out the middle. Like that. Shrink it down a touch more. And then I'm going to just mask these bits. I don't know if you saw Dragon Prince Season 4 coming soon. Very much looking forward to it. They've put Kippo and the Age of Wonder Beast on is it like CITV or something now? One of the terrestrial kids channels. And we started watching that again now on Netflix, going back through the old series. So Willow was a bit too young to enjoy it last time we watched it, so it's cracking, isn't it? We're just watching. I think we're just coming up to the end of the first series now, but we've been watching it in the mornings while the kids are getting ready for getting their breakfast and getting ready for school. And they are loving it. I love it too, to be fair though. Hayley doesn't get it. But I think she enjoys Kippo, actually, to be fair. It's the whole adults watching cartoons thing they don't get. Yeah, League of Legends is amazing. And Vox Machina as well. Vox Machina was absolutely awesome. It's like every game of D&D you've ever played in your life where it just descends into chaos and anarchy. And I love that they got the feeling right. So, you know, it always starts out well intentioned to be a serious event or whatever it is, and then it never finishes the same, does it? Everybody always ends up doing daft stuff, and that's what I like about it. Yeah. You don't want to have to try and explain half of the jokes in that, or Scanlan generally. You know, he's a it's like you'll be asking her to do her homework, and she's just going to start using Scanlan's hand against you. I bet she'll love it when she's old enough to watch it then. Like Jacob keeps seeing a lot of these TV shows on my Netflix, and like visually they appeal to him. He likes the look of them, and I keep having to say, like, you know, they're like 12 rated for a reason, mate. You can't just do it. You can't just watch that. Maybe when you're older. So it's just trying to explain it to him. Oh, brilliant. Well done, Grace. Congratulations. Although she's a clever little sausage, isn't she? So I wouldn't expect anything lower from her. Oh God. That's going to be fun for you then. You gotta watch yourself at Halloween. I remember a couple of years back, Jacob was really into all these he was into all these pranks and things. So like, come to April Fool's Day, and he says to Hayley, like, oh, I want to do a prank on Dad. So he goes downstairs. Like, we're still in bed in the morning, like, you know, just got up. He goes downstairs, and he's mooching around for things to do. He basically decided he wanted to like throw a cream pie in my face. So we got a bottle of squirty cream in the fridge. He goes and gets his squirty cream out, and Hayley puts it on a paper plate for him, and then he had to kind of like, I mean, I knew it was coming. You know, I could hear everything going on. He's got a voice that just booms, so he can't keep a secret. He's downstairs with his plate with the, you know, squirty cream on it, trying to lure me into the utility room so he can slam it in my face. So ultimately he did it, and he just thought he was hilarious. And then he starts thinking about how he's going to prank Hayley next year. So this is a couple of years ago now, and he turns around to me and goes, so what we're going to do. Now bear in mind he's 7 now. He was probably 5 when this happened, when we did this, maybe even 4. In fact, he'd have been 4, I think, because I don't think Willow might have been a little baby. He turns around and he goes, so what we're going to do, Dad, we're going to go out in the back garden, we're going to dig a big hole, and we're going to cover it in sticks, and then we're going to put grass on top of the sticks, and then we're going to call Mommy out, and she's going to walk over there and fall down the hole. I'm just sitting there chuckling my head off, laughing at like this little evil genius's like master plan. And he goes off and turns around to me afterwards. He goes, Dad, can you show me some videos of people falling down holes on YouTube so I can see how funny it is? I'm like, you're sick, mate. So, luckily, by the time next Halloween came round, he'd kind of forgotten the entire plan. So Hayley was spared. Spared a plunge into a massive hole. So they're great, aren't they? They're just so full of beans and just, you know. I've got to start running my D&D campaign for Jacob soon. He's got his character made up. It's like it's a dragonborn rogue. But we've decided. I told him he had to have like a weakness. I told him he couldn't just be like, you know, OP and full of superpowers and stuff. So we decided we were going to make him allergic to cats. So what he doesn't know is one of the other players in the game is going to be a tabaxi, and every time he sneezes, he's going to just accidentally like set fire to everything around him. He's allergic to dogs in real life. I'm allergic to cats. He's allergic to dogs, and I think a little bit of his real life experience comes in, which is always nice to see. I'm just using snake hook here, so just trying to pull some bits of the hair out that I can use to kind of like, you know, create the look. Could also do this with the curves brush, but I find that to be a real nuisance at times. I mean, I'll do a bit using the curves, and I'll merge it all in. I'll show you the difference. But so basically, with the curved tubes, what you have to do is you have to go use curved tubes tool. You come up to stroke, curve mode on. We go bend start, bend ends. Turn snap off because that's not needed, and we lock end, lock start, and then we're going to go down to curve modifier, change turn size on, and then go to curve fall off, and I'm going to invert that so it's there like that. So basically this is saying it starts large and it tapers to a point. If I stop it here, it'll taper to a kind of it'll taper down, but it won't go to a full point. So I can click on the line here now, and I can add kind of a curve into that, so it's not just a linear cone. Oh, can you? Didn't even know. I mean, I know there's people who make the tools, but I didn't know they were requesting them. They've been bought out by a company called Maxon, so it might be part of the Maxon offering, to be honest. Okay, so yes, with this curve brush, then we'll start here. I'll draw it down, bring it to here, and you can see we've got this like huge fat sausage. You just have to change the draw size down. Just tap on the line again, and it does the strands and stuff. You can like pull them around and move them and position them. But I have issues with the way these things work. They never quite work as you want them to. It's a lot of faffing with the but if you want to just do like, you know, that's a bit too big. Oh, excuse me. Cheers, man. Oh, is Maxon Cinema 4D, is it, Wilkie? I'd never heard of them before this. I've not really kind of like looked at much other stuff, because I kind of, when I got into doing the 3D stuff, I knew Zbrush was the tool I needed, and I just went straight in for it. And I used Blender a bit, but then as soon as I could kind of get the money together for it, I bought the Zbrush permanent license. So I've not really explored anything else. Obviously, I'm spending that much money on it, and then knowing you get like lifetime updates. And to be fair, I would also say at this point now, with Zbrush developed the way it is, I don't actually need any more like functionality in Zbrush. I don't think. You know, I can like literally quite happily just keep going with exactly what I've got now. So some of the new stuff they brought out, I mean, I was quite excited when they first announced they were doing the physics engine, and you could add, you could do cloth simulation and stuff like that in there. Never used it. It's a nice thing to have, but I've seen when people use it on the models, and I can tell. And I just prefer the look of sculpted cloth. So it's not something I would ever like really use myself, to be honest. But there's a lot of people who they come from like a video game background, rather than rather than making miniatures and stuff. So they're not used to sculpting cloth, because they sculpt a model and make it in T-pose, and then it gets animated and rigged and put into a physics engine, and that does all of like the cloth for them. So I understand there's a reason for it to be there, and there's people who will definitely make use of it. But so for my workflows personally, it's since they added Dynamesh really, and the Z modeler was the last one that they really did. That was a big thing for me, because that was the one that allowed me to cut Blender out of my actual workflow. So I don't have to go outside of Zbrush for anything now, even like if I'm doing like hard surface stuff. Although, to be fair, most hard surface stuff I still use my usual stuff, like just general sculpting and polishing tools. Can you texture cloth on Zbrush? You can apply. It's like if I go on to alphas here, I won't do it on this tool. Let me just pull a standard tool up. So if I pull standard tool up here, you've got like a selection of alphas that you can use. I don't know if you can see these on my screen. And basically what these are is they're just a general image that applies the brush in a masked fashion. So basically wherever there's white is like 100% application, and then black is 0% application, and then greys are varying stages in between. So if I take this one for example, and I go onto the body, if I apply if I use drag rectangle here, turn it off, you'll see how it's bringing the dots in. It's got a repeat pattern on it, so it's pulled them through. The resolution's not great here, so it hasn't kind of done it very well, but it will do that. Now you can get, and I've got loads and loads and loads. If I go to Lightbox and Alpha, I've got loads of alphas I've saved up. So I've got a folder full of them on my on my kind of OneDrive. I don't use them very often, so they might not kind of load in very quickly. But you can see we've got like block work, we've got like scales, we've got all sorts of different flooring patterns. A skeletons folder that I've saved in there by accident, chainmail. So you can take these textures and you can actually apply them to a mesh. You can do it as a noise feature where it kind of, as long as your texture is like a wrappable, repeatable texture, you can wrap it around a model using the UVs, which I don't like doing because it's a process that you have to. Yeah, and it doesn't really pay off either, mate, because when you're doing the when you do the textures, they might. And this is one of the issues I've got with the kind of the whole 3D printing market at the moment. Like generally, everybody is like looking at the models, kind of going, "Oh, look at all the detail, look at all the detail." You need to wind that right back, because you shouldn't be looking at how much detail is on the model and thinking it's an amazing thing. Because there's a point where it has diminishing returns and becomes a detriment. So I could put all these kind of like textures and stuff onto this model. I need to. Oh shit! There we go. All the streams I've done so far, that's the first time it's done it to me. And you know, I don't think I've even saved that. I'm really hoping it's auto-saved at least once or twice. Well, that's a turd, isn't it? I've at least got some of the hair in there, so that's fine. Yeah, and it's not even just so much about taking detail away from the sculpt. So like I always try and work on a basis of like a 70-30 ratio. So I want 70% of the model to be kind of clean areas where you can rest your eyes and just do a little bit of smooth painting, you know, get a nice little blend going on or something. And then 30% of the model will be like detail areas to focus on. And if you kind of exceed that, what you end up with is something that's like really like noisy. So, oh God, go away. You end up with something that's like really kind of like hard work on your eyes, and it'll kind of like you can't really make out the forms and the shapes. It becomes too busy. But the real issue is that even though we've now got 8K printers that actually physically will print this cloth texture onto a model, what we don't have is the ability to paint it. So like there is literally no way we could paint the cloth texture on a model. Even if you manage to sculpt it in there, by the time you've added a few little bits of, it's either going to look really over the top and it's going to end up looking like some kind of like mesh or something like that, or it's going to end up being just completely like covered by the first coat of paint you put on there. So people need to stop kind of looking at it as in how much detail can I get onto this model. It's how much detail should I get, and the scale is a big consideration for that. So if I'm like when I did the Barbarian Kickstarter, and it was like I'd intended it to be printed at a minimum of 75mm, even going up to like 100mm. I think I did the larger one, so 120 even. So because I was doing it larger, I did include some leather texture. So I know that she can kind of take it because the model is larger. But I also know if I scaled that same model down to 32mm, there's not a hope in hell that it's going to show up. You have to really exaggerate all of the textures, and then you kind of lose the effect of the texture because leather isn't really that. You know, the grain on leather shouldn't be that kind of coarse that it should show up at a miniature scale. Yeah, if you're buying 3D models, you're going to find a lot of it because there's so many people out there are getting caught up in like, you know, how much they can actually, you know, get in there, trying to just basically sell a nice render. And I'd probably sell more if I did the same, but it goes against my principles. I don't want to con people into thinking that, you know, they're buying something that they can print when, you know, they can't. Well, you can print it, you just can't paint it. I want to be able to make stuff that is, you know, you can do the full. You can do the full kind of like spectrum of printing, painting, and gaming with it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do. I love it. I've grown up with it. You know what I mean? It's a hobby for me as well as it is a career. So, you know, I'm physically partaking in like all aspects of the hobby. So I understand what I'm making and why I'm making it. And I think a lot of designers out there at the moment, you know, not wanting to like talk them down or anything like that. They're not hobbyists, and you know they kind of need to dabble in it a little bit. I've said it a few times. It's like a chef who doesn't eat his food. You know what I mean? If a chef doesn't taste his own meals, how does he know what he's actually producing? Okay, so let's get some more stuff going on now. So thankfully that Zbrush crash didn't cost me too bad because it was just a bit of hair, which I wasn't 100% happy with anyway. So I'm just going to get the rough kind of shape going on. And it will look ridiculous, but it's fine because it can. Okay, so let's go for Oh god. So you've had to strip your laptop down for ZBrush. Have you done much with ZBrush then? It's very fickle, mate. Very fickle. If you even so much as look at it wrong. I think it reads minds as well, because it usually knows when I'm thinking about saving. Like literally my brain is telling my hand to go and press the Control and S key, and as I make the move it just kind of goes, no, computer says no, and it shuts me down. But that was my first on stream crash, that was. And I didn't do anything apart from try and load an alpha. That's it. You don't. It might only be a small task, but if the computer don't want to do it, you're gonna know about it and find out the hard way. Okay, so his hair reminds. Yeah, that's it. Computer says no. Still use that reference, and it hasn't been on for like. I mean, when did Little Britain last air? Was it about 10 years ago or something stupid like that? Not even young people these days don't even know what I'm talking about. You say computer says no to them, obviously there's a joke behind it. They just look at you like you're being obnoxious. So I'm just roughing in some hair strands here with the clay build-up brush. Oh dear. Got a hole in the model there, let's just fill that. Don't want to mesh it. The thing is that the whole computer says no, Martin. It was it's funny because it's true. You know what I mean? It's one of those kind of things. You know, how many times do you go to customer services and stuff, and they can't do it because the computers won't let them do it. You know, you try and get something done, and it's like they've lost any autonomy to kind of like, you know, make a decision or, you know, think on their own feet. They can literally just do what the computer tells them they can do. And it was just a big parody of that, really, wasn't it? The whole thing, the whole character. Some mindless zombie of a customer services person who just can't think for themselves. So I'm going to boost the. So this is the bit where the anime character gets lost as such, because these mad crazy hairstyles might work if I sculpted it as a 6-inch statuette, but now trying to do it as a miniature, it's going to be like, we're going for like 40mm scale, so we can get a little bit more in there. But still not, you know, not quite that much. But all of these like cool little wispy bits and everything else, they've all got to be stylized now to kind of like to make them solid. Because I can't just have freestanding like spikes of hair all over the place. No, I'll be honest, mate. I mean, if you look at any of my sculpts, like the print sides, or the prints I've sent over to you and stuff, if you look at any of them, the detail that's on them is the detail I sculpted on them. Very little of it gets lost, as long as you're printing in at least like a 4K printer. But I'll qualify that all 4Ks are not the same, so you can get a 4K printer that's like a 6-inch build plate, and you can get a 4K printer that's a 10-inch build plate. And the 4K printer that's a 10-inch build plate will have a resolution that's equivalent to the a 6-inch 2K printer. So it's the pixel size is the important thing. So you want a printer that's got around about 35 to 37 microns as a minimum, so or as a maximum rather. So if it's got a smaller pixel size than 35 microns, then you're going to be good for printing. So 15, 25, 30, up to 35, you're going to be pretty much at the best quality that you're going to need for miniatures. If you start looking at larger sizes, then you're going to start noticing a visible deterioration in the print quality. So it also then comes down to your layer height. So I always print everything at 25 micron layer height, because 50 micron is okay if you just want to test print something and get it out fast. So if you had mates coming round that evening to play some D&D, and you've got like 50 monsters you want to kind of print off quick and get on a table, you could do that using 50 micron, because the prints are going to come off like super fast. Because most of the printers these days are mono printers, which means that they're just using black and white, or literally it's like on or off on the masking on the screen. Where the older printers, they were RGB screens, so there was like a degree of it, and it blocked out more light. So an RGB screen would take like maybe 8 to 12 seconds to cure a layer, whereas now you're doing it in like 1.5 to 2 seconds with a mono printer. So the mono stuff's all like much faster now. So you can literally just 50 micron layer height, just thrush out like a table full of monsters. But the quality's not there. The quality's not the same. So I always use everything in 25 microns. And the reason for that is because when I first started printing, I had my Asiga Pico. The ultra detail setting on the Pico was 25 micron layer height. So I used to use that for everything. And I experimented with taking it down to, once I got the Elegoo Mars, I experimented with using lower layer heights to see if I could get a better detail finish. And you don't. Basically anything below about 25 microns, anything above 25 microns, you start seeing the quality deteriorate from the 25 micron base like comparison. If you go the other way and you start taking it down, the returns diminish, so you don't actually get any visible improvement in the print quality for going down to like 20 microns or 15 microns or 10 microns. But your print time will increase exponentially. So if you imagine you're printing like 1500 layers at 25 microns and it takes 4 hours, if you go to 10 microns, you're probably printing 3,000 or 4,000 layers. So a print that takes 4 hours on at 25 will take you like 10 hours at 10 microns, and the print won't be any better for it. Do you know what I mean? So it takes a lot longer without having a visible benefit. So 25 microns is absolutely the sweet spot. The sweet spot. I'm glad. I wasn't sure if I was explaining it very well then, but you're coming down with a bit of a cold or something as well, so I've got losing my voice a bit, and You know when you get that like brain fog and you're not sure if you're thinking straight. Nah, we got testing kits in the house, definitely not that. Now, I've had this viral thing going on since about Tuesday last week. Luckily it hasn't affected me that bad, but yeah, certainly not COVID. Right, so I'm just putting in some random strands here, because again I can't see the back of the head. I can just see the kind of the pattern it makes. Now this is looking a little bit too He-Man-esque for me at the moment, so I definitely need to put some more spiky, prongy bits. You know, the old 1980s He-Man helmet hair kind of look. Just needs a dead solid fringe. Have you seen all the newer series as well, Martin? Was it Masters of Grayskull, was it, or no? It was Masters of the Universe, wasn't it? Was the one, and then I forget what the other one was. Well, the other one was just called He-Man, wasn't it? Is that the one that's like more adult rated? I actually didn't mind either of them, to be fair. They were both fairly watchable, but only one of them really felt like He-Man. I can't even remember which one was which now. So my throat's struggling a little bit here, so I'm just going to go and get the get a coffee on in a second. So I'm going to mute the stream for a minute while I just brew my coffee up in a sec. Oh, I hope it's like the Dolph Lundgren original. Didn't that one have clowns coming down a slide or something like that with machine guns, if I remember right, or some absolute nonsense? Or was that the Punisher? Was it the Punisher that had the 80s Punisher movie that had the clowns with machine guns on their helter skelter? It sounds like a trippy dream, that does, doesn't it? I don't even believe myself now that it's even a real film. I'm going to need to go and check this out later. It sounds like a trippy dream, doesn't it? In fact, was Dolph Lundgren the Punisher in the original, in like an 80s one? Yeah, it was that one then. It was definitely the. I can just picture Dolph Lundgren standing there like with these guys. And that's why I couldn't like get it in my head clear whether it was He-Man or Punisher. So I'm using the Orb Tracks brush again now. So now that I've defined these kind of like rough hair strands, what I'll do is I'll use the. Oh, mate, it was an awful film. The 80s was full of them, wasn't it? The films that, I mean, you try and watch them back now, you got this like bit of nostalgia around it. You think how good they were, and they just don't live up to it, do they? But except for Commando. Commando was awesome. So was the director and everyone else in there, I think. So yeah, so use the now that I've formed out these rough hair strands, I'm just going to use the Alt Cracks brush. So I've got the Alt key on, so I'm going into like the alternative mode, which is the add mode. I'm just going to draw a few strands on, and that'll just bring it up to a point, and that just makes it easier to paint. You can either go dead straight down the middle of them, give it a nice pronounced ridge, or you can kind of wave it through and give the hair a bit of texture. Yes, basically once he's all ready, he'll be posted. He'll be posted up on our Crystal Collapse page, and then hopefully we'll be going to kickstart with that. Probably aiming for like Easter next year. No, posing is going to be a little bit different, mate. It's posing will be. I don't even know. I don't know. We want something a bit more actiony. So because this is the artwork we're going to be using on like the character cards in the game. It is quite static because it's got to fill a particular spot. So I'll just show you quickly what the cards do actually look like. So Max has sent me all these all the cards and everything else, but he's also sent me like loads of photos from when he was at Essen last weekend. Right, so here is this is what the card's going to look like for Corrado. So this is the character I did on the last stream. So obviously he's got a bit more of an action pose, but yeah, he's going to be. He's got to fit in that little square, so the character artwork's got to be quite static to be able to fit into that gap. Mate, I wish I could take credit for it, but the artwork's done by this awesome guy called Alex, and the game's been designed by Max. So I've had some input in terms of actually refining it and kind of coming up with some of the characters and things like that, and helping to refine and design some characters, but. The hard work behind that bit is all down to him, and I think he's got somebody else doing the actual layouts and stuff. But you're welcome to come and play test it with us, mate. We've got like a tabletop simulator server set up, so we're doing a few more. Alpha tests internally to make sure we can get the key mechanics working properly and that everything's balanced. And I say with this guy at the moment, he's in game. He's very defensive. He's a very protective character. So he is. He's almost designed to like buff your team and help them out. And he does have some kind of like cool. Like skills and actions of his own. Kind of. He's got quite a lot of health and he's quite hard to damage, but he's got like abilities that like damage you when you hit him, or when he attacks you, you automatically both take like a health point off. And I think there's something missing from his kind of his configuration and his setup that makes it. He doesn't quite feel like this. Like the story of him is that he's this big bad guy who's like trying to take over the world and stuff. And the last time we played, I said to Max, I said he feels like he should be scarier. Like Max kind of didn't have any issues like strolling over and like challenging him. And I feel like he probably should have. But there should have been a lot more hesitance around wanting to get near him. You want to take him out from a distance rather than get close. So I think we need to get something in that's gonna give him that fear factor. and that will help make him help establish him as like the big bad guy. Right, I've got something wrong here. This parting's on the wrong side. Shop WP. Let me just check that. Thank you, Wilkie. Get a note in for that one. Oh, you're a legend, mate. Thank you for that. So is that a plugin for Shopify? Do I install that on Shopify or do I install it on WordPress, that one? So yeah, Martin, he does have something like that. He's got this. He has a special attack where he's got install WordPress to link. Right, awesome, mate. Thank you for that. But yeah, he's got an ability where we've got these strength crystals, these power crystals that you generate. So whenever he suffers damage, he generates power crystals. But also, whenever he gains a power crystal, he can like gift a power crystal to like an ally who's nearby. This will say he's like a buffy character, and then he's got we've got this character called Mr. Powder, who's like running around with like a magic rifle that like just blasts magic energy out of your enemies, and he's pretty cool. But his weapon is fairly mediocre until you start loading him up with power crystals. So you kind of end up using the king as a means of like buffing this other guy to kind of like load up his missile weapon. And as cool as the feature is, and as cool as the functionality is, it doesn't quite feel right to me as I don't feel like the king should be doing that. Yeah, no worries, mate. You're loaded up on cake now, aren't you? You need to go and walk it off. We'll have a catch up later anyway, mate. Give us a bell later on when you're when you settle down and whatever else. Because I'll be doing this for about another half an hour, and then we'll log off and get some lunch and chill a bit. So, well, I'd say chill a bit, do more work, but just not online, so I can rest my voice a touch. Right, you take it easy, mate. Thanks for tuning in again. Thanks for the sub. Tell Tracy bye as well. See you later, guys. Okay, so I'm just playing with the hair here now, just trying to make it not look like a bob. Because I'm feeling like he looks like he should be on Stranger Things at the moment with the hairdo. So I'm gonna bring that back there. Okay, so a few more random strands, I think, are going to be in order. So this is what I was saying, but this is where you get the dangers of the of trying to do anime hairstyles on models. They never quite translate as you want them to. Because I could do this with all like curve brushes and things like that, and just draw all these nice curves out into tapered points. But then every single one of those curves is going to need supporting, and the miniature is going to be a nightmare. You're going to end up breaking bits off, and in the interest of keeping it as a miniature, as intended. I need to stylize it a little bit and try and make it into a more solid form. So a couple of these like little kick up bits is fine. Yeah, it reminds me of something. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what. I think he needs. I need to do his like eyelashes. He's got quite a heavy eyelash actually. Let me just mark that in. You know, certain things are just key to the look of the model, and when it's missing, it just doesn't seem right. It's got a bit of Death Note about it for me. This one actually reminds me of the big guy in Death Note. Extract. I'm also going to use the polish brush just to clean this up a bit. Probably use a bit of trim actually, the trim dynamic. A little bit of smoothing as well. Let's see how that's looking. Just use the move tool, just move that about a bit. Then we'll turn his colour back on. And then let's re-enable his eyes. That's not looking terrible. Eyebrows are too thick at the moment though. The eyelashes, sorry. Check the link you sent, dude. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. It reminds me a little bit actually of Balthier from Final Fantasy 12. That's the picture I just sent over. Anyone's interested? It's the big mouth, isn't it? Yeah, it's definitely the mouth. Oh, I just realised something gammy with his nose now. Soften the nostrils a bit. I think I can emulate that style with Corrado though actually, and get a similar kind of visual on him. Because Corrado's face is definitely getting a revisit to animate him up. And the only thing I'm not keen on with this guy at the moment is I've got a little bit of a his eye socket here, a bit of bumpiness to it that's casting some shadows and stuff. Oh, turds. It's casting some shadows and it shouldn't do. So I'm just going to smooth that out, try and get into that. There you go, I'm quite pleased with that. looking quite good. Now the hair is still giving me some issues. The colour doesn't help. I kind of feel like it should be a lot more, it should be wider, but not. Maybe that is better. Yeah, this whole process now is just picking and choosing which strands to kind of apply to kind of get the visual aesthetic right. So the bottom of his hair now, I think I need to bring it in. So I've kind of gone up and out, and I've got to bring it back a bit. Okay, so snake hook again. I'm going to use it to pull out a few. Bit more curliness to his hair, maybe. I think maybe some of the strands are a bit too long, so I probably need to shorten the strands down. So I'm just going to chop a few of them up using the All Cracks brush. I think that might be what's causing it, because he's got quite short hair, but it's quite, there's some long bits. So the longer bits are all at the top. So as it comes down the sides, it should be shorter. So I think I'm going to try that. The message that keeps popping up on the screen, by the way, whenever I select the snake hooks brush, is just a reminder telling me that it works best when you've got dynamic tessellation turned on. Because, well, basically, if you don't have dynamic tessellation turned on, it's stretching polygons. If you do have it turned on, then it will create geometry on the fly, which can be handy, but equally is going to need fixing later as well, because it won't leave you with clean geometry. It will create geometry, but it's not going to be clean, because dynamic tessellation rarely is, unless you're using it very small. And for the snake hooks, you tend to want to use a bigger brush size. yeah, so if you're not using dynamic tessellation, you need to make sure that you dynamesh regular. And that will help to re-establish your geometry. Right, so okay. Right, so right, I'm going to wrap this up now. I'm going to park that there, save my file, and let's just see who I've got. Well, it looks like Mr. Mike Moans is live again, so we're going raid into Mike, drop you in there to end the stream. So bear with me 1 second, guys. Thank you all for tuning in again today, and hopefully I'll be on again this week, and I'll have a couple of extra streams going on early next week with the Cursed Empire stuff. So oh, what's going on? Do you know what? Twitch chat's locking me out, so no no stream raid today. I'll sort this out ready for next time. Head over to Mike Moans if you want to go and say hello. I'll go and tune into him later on while I'm working, have a listen, see what he's chatting about today. But guys, again, thank you for today. Thank you for joining me. And again, next Wednesday I'll schedule in this same model and we'll continue him. I won't do anything on him until then. Okay, guys. Right. I'll see you all soon.